Hello, and welcome to Wilaker, a Journeyers podcast. I'm Will Abels, and this is my story.
Left home, gone coast to coast, in a hybrid car with a bag of clothes. Back on the wagon, back on the road. Would you have my back when I'm all alone? On a wing and a prayer, all out of favors. Hope to get $1 and a smile out of stranger. As the story is told and the plot unfolds, we laugh not to cry, but it's not a joke. No, it's not a joke. It's not a joke.
Hello, and thank you for listening to Wilaker, a Journeyers podcast. I am heading back on the road, and I would love for you to come to some shows. Starting this weekend, I'll be at West River Comedy Club May 8th and May 9th in Rapid City, South Dakota. Then I'm heading to New York May 13th to the 16th. You can check out specifics there on my link tree. Then I'm heading to Empire Comedy Club in Portland, Maine on May 17th, the headline for the very first time. I'm so excited about that. Then I head back to Nashville for a few days. Then I'm heading to Asheville, North Carolina, where I'll be headlining on May 21st, and then on May 22nd, I'm heading to Wilmington, North Carolina. I'll be closing out the Don't Tell in Wilmington. Then I'm heading back. I get a little break. I get a tiny little break, and then on June 4th, I'm getting back on the road. I'm heading to Greensboro, North Carolina. Details will be released for that soon. June 5th and June 6th, I will be doing some shows around Raleigh, and then June 7th, 6-7, I'll be headlining at Good Nights Comedy Club once again. Excited to make my return trip there. Then I head back to Maryland with Ben Roy. We're going to be doing The Hall on June 12th, and we're going to be doing The Cellar Door on June 14th in Frederick, Maryland. Then I head out to Los Angeles, California. I'm doing a lot of showcases and bar shows, but most importantly, on June 19th, I'll be headlining the Dynasty Typewriter. It's going to be an awesome show. It's the biggest show I've ever done. I'm excited for it. And then on June 26th, I'll be at Lost Church in San Francisco, co-headlining with Hannah Rochline. And then I get back to Nashville, and I get to relax until August, where things pick up again. And then check back in for all the dates and times. I know that was a little vague, but you know what? Vague is all I got for you. So the big important ones: Good Nights Comedy Club, 6-7, Dynasty Typewriter, 6-19, Lost Church, San Francisco, 6-26, and coming up most recently, Empire Comedy Club, 6-5-4-3-2-1. Empire Comedy Club, 5-17, May 17th. Tickets on my link tree. Check it out. Welcome back to Chapter 13 of Wilaker. Took a week off. I had to. It's not because I wanted to. I'm busy. I got to make some money. The road is very tough. Gas is through the roof. That's not something new. We all know that. But it's close to impossible to take a budget. And doing all these one-nighters, I got to fund my travel a lot. And I'm busy. So I had to take last week off. And I don't know. These remaining chapters are all very important to me because they lead up to me finally getting sober on July 30th, 2025. And, you know, the last few chapters and this chapter and everything coming up, we're in that time frame again. You know, I mean, this is the same time as last year, April, May, and June, leading into July. And so it's kind of cool right now because I'm seeing all the positive outcomes from last year, from what happened last year, from getting sober, from also just taking a risk and going on this trip. And this episode's pretty cool because I was just in Boise in March. I did Treefort Music Festival. That was a direct result of doing these shows and making this trip on this chapter, on this part of the journey. And I have some things coming up that they all came into place because of me taking a risk last year. And it's also cool to see that, you know, the back half of last year has led to so many cool things this year. And then the back half of this year, I can't announce a lot of it yet. I'm working on some things, but I can say there's some people around Nashville. If they find out that I pulled this off by myself and without their help, they're going to shit their fucking pants. So I'm pretty excited about it. But some things I can tell you about. On June 19th, I will be headlining Dynasty Typewriter in Los Angeles. arguably the biggest show I've ever done. Like capacity wise, it's the same size as the Maryland Theater that I did, but it's more just. I mean, it's a very prestigious venue. It's it's insane that it's actually happening. Iffy, who I worked with back in at an Ask a Fuckboy in San Francisco, Iffy got me set up. I was really just thinking they were going to be like, yeah, no, we're interested, but like probably not you. And then they were like, yeah, let's do it. And I was like, oh, hell yeah. So it's cool to see that I'm starting to finally get my flowers finally in every city in America except for here and for some reason Baltimore and for some reason Charleston, South Carolina. But everywhere else seems to be acknowledging my hard work and my talent, which is nice. And yeah, so I'm excited about it. It's going to be a Will Abels and Friends. I think I'm going to call it Will Abels and his work friends because it's a lot of people I've met on the road. Some I'm very close to, some I'm more so acquaintances with, but we've all helped each other in some way, and we're all buddies, and I love that. And then I'm also going to be co-headlining The Lost Church in San Francisco on June 26th. That's going to be with Hannah Rochline, who's a good friend from Chicago. And yeah, those two shows in June, if that's all I had all summer, I would be I would be ecstatic, and I am ecstatic. But I got more than that. Going back to Good Nights, headlining there. And I got some other things in the works. Like I said, I can't quite talk about it yet, but could be a pretty good back half of the year. Also, congratulations to Caitlin Palufo and Winston Hodges and Usama Siddiqui for just making the top four. Sorry, top six. My bad, Winston. But just watching how far you guys went, and just three people that I've had nothing but positive interactions with, hardworking, funny comedians. And I'm so happy that show exists because it really did showcase. The show I'm talking about is Kevin Hart's Funny as Fuck. It was just nice to see good comics showcased for once and not this dog shit that Austin's spewing out, even though I think Austin won the thing. I don't know. I'll let Threads fight that one out. I'm not going to get involved because no one needs me. Like, no one's like, oh, well, I wish Will had said something. Anyway, I'm proud of the three of you. Good job. And Reg Thomas, good job. I've forgiven you for yelling at me at the Grizzly Pear one time 10 years ago because I forgot your name. Don't forget it now. I'm not going to forget it now. But good job. You're also very funny. Congrats, everyone. It was nice to see New York represented and the DMV represented. And I'll see you out there on the road. I'm excited to see what happens with you guys next. I'm sure it's going to be big things. All right, back to Wilaker, Chapter 13. So picking up where we left off, Chapter 12, I just come from Bend. Thought I was going to make some money. The ticket link didn't work, probably among other things. And I made $0. But I went out with Cody and Liam. Had a good time in Bend. I had a great conversation about comedy specifically. And then I slept in a rest stop. And I'm pretty sure that rest stop was like an ancient Native American burial ground because something happened in my mind. And things just started getting better and better and better from that moment where I just kind of got to my lowest point of being. And part of that is also when you get to the lowest point, you can't go lower than rock bottom. Right. So you gotta either just lay there or start climbing out. And then the trip from Bend to Boise, no cell service, driving through one of the most beautiful landscapes I've ever seen. And the only town I went through was a bunch of old people participating in the No Kings protest, brought a tear to my eye. And now I'm in Boise. I'm at a gas station about to go to where I'm staying with this family, with Brad and T. And I've just found out that my sister bought a postcard. Probably should have done that earlier, but you know what? I appreciate the timing either way. And my high school soccer captain also just sent me $50 because he was like, "Hey, you're out there working." He already bought a card, and then he was like, "Hey, it just seemed like you need $50." And I was like, "And I did need $50." So now I'm debating at this gas station. All right, well, am I going to get a beer or am I going to get a snack and be an adult? And one of the best things that happened is this family I'm staying with, they housed my brother Charlie for like 6 months. If you know Charlie, I don't have to explain a lot there, what that means to house him for 6 months. But they, by association, were now family. I'd never met them. I found out like basically that day. This is the kind of bullshit Charlie does. I've been setting this trip up for months, and I knew Charlie had lived there. I knew Charlie had places for me to stay. I knew where Charlie stayed with Brad and T. And Charlie that day finally texted Brad to be like, "Hey, my brother's in town. Is the spare room available?" I thought it was just kind of like a miscommunication. He was just waiting to tell me. I found out that day. I found out later, Charlie texted Brad that day. So Brad and I both found out that same day that I was staying there. Because that's the kind of bullshit my brother does. Anyway, that's the kind of shit they had to put up with for 6 months. And so, but because they are family, I really was like, I got to dry out a little bit. I need to dry out anyway because I'm making myself sick at this point with my drinking. And I need to be clear, I wasn't like blacking out all the time. Like, it's nothing like that. It was just that I was consistently drinking every day for like a month. And, you know, the stress is adding up. My stomach is all fucked up. And the problem really was that things were still going well. The shows were going well. I was having good shows. I was networking. I was creating more opportunities for the future. Things were going great. And that is what alcoholism does. There's a little devil that sits on your shoulder and he goes, "It's not the drinking, buddy. Look how many good things are happening around you. The drinking's fun. You like the drinking. And the drinking's going to keep bringing you these opportunities." And that's just not true. What really happened is, you know, I've been doing comedy for a long ass time. I thrive on the road because I'm not surrounded by all the bullshit that's in Nashville. And I was creating positivity around me. And also I was just around really good comics and really good people. So, you know, but I just keep drinking because I'm an alcoholic. And so you just keep drinking and you tell yourself everything's fine. And not to jump too far forward, but one of the reasons I got sober in the first place, on July 30th at least, the reason I got sober like more confidently and permanently starting July 30th, 2025 was because of family. You know, I was tired of the way that they talked to me. I was tired of the way I talked to them. I didn't like my relationship with alcohol because they were, with alcohol was more important to me than my relationship with my family. And I was just tired of, you know, this strained relationship I have with my dad all the time. And so ultimately family is what got me sober. And this was sort of the kind of, you know, tremblings of that, where even though I didn't know this family I was about to stay with, they had housed Charlie. And by that extension, they were family. And so I decided I need to dry out over this weekend and just be on my best behavior, honestly. And then after Boise, I was going to go camping for a couple days. Didn't quite know where I was going, but I knew I had to get to Denver, so somewhere between Boise and Denver. And then when I got to Denver, I was staying with JD and Jen, who are two good friends of mine that I just stayed with again, and they also are friends of Charlie. They went to college with Charlie, so like the back half of this trip was kind of fueled by family, so to speak. And so that's, you know, that was the up and downs with drinking there. And I don't want to jump ahead too much because it gets a little convoluted. But I decided I was going to dry out, and I don't drink the beer at the gas station, and I make it to the house, which it's so crazy to find out. They just found out that day I was going to be in town, and they were like, "Yeah, just come on in." And so I get there, T comes out, greets me, we get my stuff inside, I start doing some laundry, they let me get settled in. They're coming to the shows that night. So that night I'm doing the Cowboy Room at Western Collective, which is a show I just did again in March. It was an all-festival show from Treefort. And then I was going to do Don't Tell, which was set up by Henry Hawker, who also got me set up with Treefort. So these shows led to me coming back to Boise in March, and I hadn't even heard of Treefort. It came from a conversation Brad and I had later on that weekend, and then I kind of paid attention to it. And then also found out my cousin Connor and his band Cab Ellis were in Treefort. And so all these kind of like the stars kind of aligned. And then fortunately I was given the opportunity to go perform in this festival. I got to pal around with Connor back in March. It was awesome. And it all kind of came from this weekend in Boise. And if you notice, I'm saying Boise and not Boise because I was told that's how you say it. If I'm saying it wrong, just DM me. Just DM me. You don't have to put it on blast in some comment. Just DM me and be like, "Hey man, you need to learn how to talk." So I get in. There are a couple of funny things about their family, and I'm trying not to use, like, I'm not trying to elaborate on that. I don't want to give their last names, you know, because I don't want you to find them and be like, "I'm a Wilaker stan and I get to see the house." Which, if that's happening out there, that'd be so funny. But it's not. It's 100% not happening. But they, also, so Brad and T housed Charlie for 6 months. He was doing a job out there, and then I think he was renting from them. Like I think he was renting their Airbnb, and then I think the job became more long term, and so he was like, "Hey, can I just like give you rent money and just stay here for 6 months?" They're like, "Yeah, sure." So Charlie lived with them. Most of this weekend was just fueled by Brad and I sitting around just dumping on Charlie, and oh, chef's kiss, like just what I needed to keep going on this journey. Because Charlie also didn't answer the phone almost that entire time I was on the road. And I've talked about this a couple of times. I'm glad he didn't now because I think he would have yelled at me about my drinking. But, pick up the phone, Charlie. Pick up the goddamn phone, Charlie. That's what I'm going to put on my grave. Pick up the goddamn phone, Charlie. Anyway, so I get in there, kind of discombobulated because I'm in a new house. They're getting to know me. I'm getting to know them. They have 2 sons. They're around. I get to meet them over time. The funniest thing about them is when Charlie lived with them, they were like, I want to say like, I forget the exact ages, but it was like 12 and 14 or like 11 and 13, around that age. Very impressionable ages for young men. And so they had these mannerisms like Charlie, and it was ruining my day. It was really like messing with me so hard because I just have these 2, they're also both tall. So like I had like 2 tall Charlies walking around, and I was like, if I go to hell, this is what the devil's going to put in front of me. It's just 2 tall Charlies walking around. Just, I sure hope that never happens. But they ended up being awesome. And the whole, just staying with them for a couple days it was so great. So I get settled in, and then we're trying to get pizza before the show. So the first show, like I said, was at Cowboy Room, and then Don't Tell. They're coming to the Don't Tell show, so they have time to get ready. I don't. So they're talking about ordering pizza. We have like a 45-minute window where they can like order the pizza, get the pizza, and then we eat the pizza. And I'm pretty sure they argued over which pizza to order from for half an hour. So I just stood there watching this window close as Brad and T just not argued like in an aggressive, like not argued, like just debated the pros and cons of which pizza to get. And I will say this, the pizza they got, phenomenal. And it was genuinely one of the best pizzas I've ever had. So they figured it out by the end. But basically what happened was, because they're doing this debate so long, I was like, hey, I gotta get in the shower and get to my show. And they're like, no problem, we'll order the pizza and then we'll just bring it to you at the show. Because Don't Tell was next to Western Collective. So I literally got to do one show, walk out the front door, and go to Don't Tell next door. Both shows were packed. So like, it can happen. If you're saying like, oh, there's another show in town tonight, that's why no one's here. That's not what it is. Okay? It's marketing. It's the lineup that you have. Like, it can happen. All right? And the other thing I did before I went to the show was I usually keep like I keep a beard of some capacity, whether it's like longer, trimmed, or whatever. But when I go into mustache mode, when I trim this bad boy down to a mustache, that means some chaos is about to happen. It means I'm either about to get fired from my job, or it means I'm about to burn my surroundings to the ground. And that's essentially what would happen this back half of this trip. So I go full mustache. I show up at Western Collective and got to see a bunch of new comics, had a really great time, and then got to do 25 minutes to headline the show. Went great, awesome experience, and I really enjoyed it. It was a younger crowd, it was a progressive crowd, it was fun. And I had, like I said, I'm trying to dry out, so I got there and I had like 2 NA beers, and then just little devil on my shoulder was like, well, you can have 1. And that's where it really does start, is like just having 1. It's not like 10. Everyone thinks, oh, like he had 10 beers. It's that 1 beer that always sets you off. But I'm trying to be controlled because I'm staying with this family. So they pop in to drop off their pizza at Western Collective, and then I'm going to meet them at Don't Tell. I think I had 2 beers at this brewery, and then went over to Don't Tell and just did the show. It was really fun. I don't think there was like a feature headliner situation there. I think there might have been a headliner. I think it was some kid that went to Austin or whatever. I don't really remember. I don't remember liking his set, if I'm being honest with you. But did my show there. It wasn't as fun as Western Collective because it was an older audience, and I don't know the specifics of Boise, but I know that like it's a very similar vibe to like how Nashville's in Tennessee, where like Tennessee's like we really thought things were going great in 1850, and we'd like to get it back there. I think Boise's kind of the same way because they had that whatever the exodus was, where basically they were like white immigrants that were like, we don't like that immigrants that aren't white are coming here, so we need to go find some white pure town to establish, and they went to Idaho, and that's how Idaho was founded. I'm not a historian. I know I'm botching some of the details of it, but that's the gist of how Idaho was founded. And so, that wasn't that long ago. It was like 150 years ago. So, those generations are only like 2 or 3 generations back. And so you do certain jokes that they don't like as much. It was also like in a gym and had very high ceilings. High ceilings in comedy are always tough because the laughs move upwards instead of at you. And it was a little hot in there, honestly. So, the Don't Tell was not as fire as Western Collective, but they were still both great. And I was really happy for the spots. And then I got a few days off from comedy, which was needed, and I didn't know it was needed. So then we sit around the brewery. We have a couple more. But I remember very specifically I had 5 beers. That's it. Just 5 beers. And I debated going to a bar. I debated all this stuff. I don't have any money. I don't have any money. And I was like, your brain just goes, you don't have any money. You can't do that. So then I go home and go to sleep. And I go through withdrawal. So I wake up in like a cold sweat. I'm drenched. And I'm like, oh. And it's funny because it's weird because like I knew how much I was drinking. But until that happened, where 5 beers was still like, you haven't had enough to drink. Because I felt normal. I felt sober. I felt fine. And then trying to go to sleep that night, I was like tossing and turning all night because I'm literally going through withdrawal. So I was like, oh, this isn't great. And the next day, I kind of mentioned that to Brad while we're sitting around, and he was just like, oh, okay, that's wild. And now I'm off, and I was going to I think I was going to hit the road that day. I think I was just going to stay for the night, but I really just enjoyed spending time with them. And one thing I forgot is that it was Father's Day. So I kind of just was like, hey, do you guys mind if I stay one more night and I'll hit the road tomorrow? And they're like, yeah, of course. And they didn't mention at all that like it's Father's Day, blah, blah, blah. So, and it did throw me off to like go through that level of withdrawal because you're just like, oh, I didn't realize how bad this is getting. And that's my least favorite part. That's one thing that keeps me drinking is I hate going through the withdrawal because it's just like 2 days of kind of hell, sometimes longer. And that was a pretty light one compared to some of the other withdrawals I've gone through. So I'll take it. And it was an alarm bell that I needed to go off. So I kind of get like where can I go, like hang out? Where can I walk? Because I had therapy that day. So I wanted to talk to my therapist for about an hour. And they were like, oh, there's this park right here. You should go there. Here's this coffee shop. Here's all the stuff you can do. I need to get some work done that day. I kind of needed to just get my life together. So I was very thankful that they were like, you can stay for another day. It's not a problem. You can stay as long as you want, honestly. But I was like, I'm going to stay one more day and then I'll get out of here. So I start walking towards this park. And as soon as I get to the park, I immediately recognize it because when my ex and I did our trip out west, this was one of the only stops we made in Boise. And it was a dog park. And it was like the coolest dog park I've ever seen in my life. And my ex's dog was like in heaven. She could jump in water. She could get out. She could run around. There was dogs everywhere. She was just so happy. And I walk up and I'm like, of course they live next to this park. Like, of course they live next to the only thing I know in this town. And so, that puts me in the kind of weird nostalgia feel. I'm going through a bit of withdrawal, so my emotions are higher than they normally are. And then I talk to my therapist for an hour, get a lot of shit out. And in that conversation, realize it's Father's Day. And I was like, oh, okay. So get through therapy, and it was a lot of necessary crying, but it was good. And then I called my dad, wish him a happy Father's Day. I kind of thought he was going to be like, what the fuck are you doing out there? And it was really nice to talk to him, which was not that we don't have like good conversations. I can just, when I'm drinking, I can hear in his voice, he's just like, I don't want to fucking talk to this guy. And that's fair and that's valid. But it was nice talking to him, gave him a nice little happy Father's Day. So I keep walking around the park because I've just been in this car so much. And I've mentioned this in past episodes. When I need to get sober or when I need to dry out, I just walk until I can't walk anymore. So I have this huge park. There's lots to explore. And so my goal is like, I'm doing at least 8 miles today. I find another graveyard to walk around. It's got like an old Civil War cemetery, which is pretty cool. And then I keep walking. And at some point, my Venmo goes off, and someone bought another card, another postcard. And then I look, and I realize this is the last postcard. So I sold out postcards, and I am just overwhelmed with joy and just I don't even know how to explain it. Like I was so happy. I was just so happy because it was like I just felt so seen, essentially. Like I was like, oh, there are people out here that are, and I knew that there were people supporting me this whole time. I was writing these cards the whole time, but it was just like the strangers that would buy them and just be like, hey, like love what you're doing, keep going. That really got to me. So there's a lot going on that day. My brain is kind of fried, and I'm walking around, I'm crying, I'm doing therapy, I'm having a good time, falling in love with this town a little bit, and thankful I got to explore it more during Treefort back in March. And so as I'm walking around, I'm like, ah, things are great. And then the little devil on your shoulder comes by, and he's like, you should buy them a bottle of wine. It's Father's Day. So basically, they invited me to Father's Day dinner, and uh, it was great. First time I had a home cooked meal in a long time, all that. But my brain was like, oh, you should get them a bottle of wine because then you can drink wine, you know. And so this whole like let's dry out thing immediately is like, well, let's dry out within reason, right? So I texted them like, hey, is there a place I can go pick up a bottle of wine? And they were like, honestly, we don't need it. We appreciate the offer, but you really don't have to do that. Why don't you just come back and have dinner? And now I'm like, oh, I'm gonna like white knuckle this and really have to dry out. So we have a great dinner. They kind of put me on to there's like this flavored vinegar. It's basically kombucha, but it's not quite kombucha. It's this flavored vinegar that they mix with simple syrup and club soda, and they were just drinking that. And like, this is honestly what we drink more often than alcohol because we just have to function as adults. Do you want to try this? And so I try it out, and I'm like, oh, this is actually pretty good. It's a good alternative. And so I drink like 10 of them because I want to be drinking. And when you want to drink and you can't drink, you just drink whatever's in front of you. And club soda tends to be the norm. So I'm just like drinking a bunch of vinegar. But we had a really great night. They we got to know each other a lot better. Again, just sharing Charlie stories. They told me a hilarious one about Brad trying to give Charlie a tattoo on their dinner table. Like he's a tattoo artist. And he's trying to give Charlie this tattoo, and Charlie just keeps like, it took like 6 hours or something fucking crazy. Because Charlie kept going like, ouch, ouch, daddy, ow. And it's funny because I told Charlie this story much later on, and Charlie was like, wait, I didn't realize I was pissing them off. And I was like, are you this oblivious to how annoying you are? Because this guy's trying to like put a needle inside of you and inject ink into your skin, and you don't know just to sit still. Like, what is wrong with you? But we shared all these great stories. We have a great time. And during that sitting is when they first mentioned Treefort. And I'm like, oh, what is this? And that is how Treefort got on my radar. So I put it in my notes to kind of, look into it again. And lo and behold, I got in, and I ended up being a part of Comedy Fort at Treefort in March. So it was awesome. Yeah. And so thank you, Henry Hawker, for setting that all up. So the next day, I need to get on the road again, and I really don't want to go. Again, I had another really rough night of sleeping, really sweating it out. Withdrawal's getting worse because I didn't even wean myself off that. I just went cold turkey, which is just tough to do, but necessary. But I had my first day sober on the road. My first day without a drop of alcohol, and so far probably mentally and emotionally the best day I've had that whole trip. And I feel good, and I'm around family, and I feel I'm enjoying my conversation with their sons, and I'm just having a good time. And I really don't want to leave. But T gives me a bunch of suggestions for places to go the next day to camp. She gives me Crater of the Moon National Park, mentions Shoshone Falls. This is part of the next episode, so I haven't rehashed. I also went there again on this trip, but Shoshone Falls near Twin Falls, and gives me all these places to go. and then I can do that day, and then the next day I got to find another spot to camp, and then on Wednesday I'll be in Denver, and that's kind of the end of that trip. But I'm kind of dragging my feet because what I needed to do on Sunday really was I needed to go shop and get groceries and get all these things for this camping trip that I'm doing for the next 2 days, and I didn't do that because I was waiting to get Venmo'd for my shows I just did. That finally comes through, and I can finally go get groceries. They give me a local grocer that is employee owned. I want to go support that. So I make my way there. As I'm making my way there, there is the postcard from a couple episodes ago that just said that I originally I got this in Bozeman, if you remember, where the audience member was like, "I like your stuff. You're a great storyteller. You remind me of Todd Snyder." And she wrote Todd Snyder, KK Ryder, on this postcard. That postcard got thrown back into the pile when I was in Portland, and I was finally like finishing up some of these cards. I wrote one to my cousin, and my cousin was like transitioning careers, and I decided that wasn't like I didn't write enough honestly to him. I wasn't like kind enough, I didn't really tell him how proud of him I was. So I go to crumble up this postcard, and I noticed that's the card that the audience member had written on that said Todd Snyder. So that ended up in the side door, like it's that little pocket that's in every car door. That ended up there. Somehow my hand touched it, or if it fell out, or whatever. I see it and I go, oh, I should finally listen to this. And so I remember exactly where I was the first time I listened to Todd Snyder. Didn't realize I've been listening to Todd Snyder for years. I just didn't, I wasn't like a super fan, but he has a lot of songs that I just like, they come on my playlist and stuff like that. And I didn't realize like, oh, I've always liked Todd Snyder. I just didn't know. So I put it on and I hear the story. It's like a 6 or 7 minute song story, songwriter. Well, I don't know what you guys call it, but I love it. I'm like, oh, this is awesome. Then I go to the grocery store, I get my groceries. I come back. Now I'm a Todd Snyder fan. Little do I know that we're running a show at Rosemary and Beauty Queen in Nashville. We are borrowing chairs from Todd Snyder. Like, I'm very connected to this person without even knowing I'm connected. And I posted a video about this when he passed away a few months back, and I'm going to repost that video. But it really does show you don't know the effects you're having on people that you don't even know. And I think that's why the postcards for me were so special, because I had people that I didn't know well reaching out, being like, I've been following your journey for a long time. I've been following your comedy for a long time. I love this. I'm glad that I can support, and hopefully you pay it forward someday, stuff like that. And so it was really like a nice moment that all came together. And so I get back, I get all my stuff packed, and it's like 3 p.m., 3 or 4 o'clock. And they're like, you really need to start hitting the road. And I was like, let me look and see how far it is to Shoshone Falls. And I was like, oh, it's 3 hours away. And they're like, yeah, and you got to get to Craters of the Moon to camp for the night. And just kind of in a Will Abels fashion, I was like, well, I'll figure it out. And so then I hit the road. I'm 24 hours, coming up on 48 hours into drying out. And that is the end of chapter 13. We'll pick that up with a couple days of camping, and that leads us into Denver. Again, if you're struggling with your drinking and all that kind of stuff, you can DM me. We can talk about it. It doesn't have to be a big public thing, and it doesn't even have to be about getting sober. There's a couple of tricks I've learned about just kind of cutting back in general. I mean, it didn't work for me because I guess my philosophy is you either go 100% or you don't do it at all, and I guess that's kind of the mentality I had towards drinking. But also, you have to be honest with yourself. I just passed 9 months sober yesterday, so I'm pretty excited about that. And really what got me there was just being tired of feeling like this all the time, being tired of my relationships always being strained. And I knew that there was a ton of potential sitting inside of me, specifically with comedy, and I was like, I am just holding this back. So I think it's time to really see how far we can go with this. And look, I'm still young enough that if it doesn't work out in comedy, I have plenty of time to go do something else. And at least now I can do that sober and enjoy it and remember it and hopefully thrive in that career path. But for now, comedy's going well, and I'm happy to be doing it sober. And I'm excited for the opportunities that are coming my way. Thank you so much for listening to Wilaker. This was chapter 13. I'll see you next week. Take us away, Kenny.
Left home, gone coast to coast in a hybrid car with a bag of clothes. Back on the wagon, back on the road. Would you have my back when I'm all alone? On a wing and a prayer, all out of favors. Hope to get $1 and a smile out of stranger. As the story is told and the plot unfolds, we laugh not to cry, but it's not a joke. No, it's not a joke. It's not a joke.